Helldivers 2 was released back in early February of this year to massive acclaim and an even bigger player count. However, following a couple cases of poor encounter balancing, poor weapon balancing, questionable developer behavior, and a dash of corporate greed, the player base dropped to a number almost 10 times smaller than at launch. So, how did this supposed messiah of live service gaming go from this to this? Let's start at the beginning. But first, for all of you living under a rock, let me quickly explain what this game is all about. Skip to this point if you just want to hear the story. Helldivers 2 is a co-op horde shooter about killing bugs, turning murder bots into scrap, and dropping fat loads of freedom on anything that moves. You are a Helldiver. A member of the frontline, expendable, cannon fodder. Sorry. I mean, you are part of the most elite peacekeeping force Lady Liberty has to offer. After finishing your training, you are given command of your own super destroyer. Here, you will pick your weapons and stratagems, decide on your drip, upgrade your ship, and unlock new ways to deliver peace across the stars. When you're ready for some action, go up to the mission board and select your next 3-day special military operation. Get to the hellpod, pick your loadout, and dive.
Hellpod launch initiated.
So, you landed. What now? On every mission, there are mandatory objectives and optional side objectives to complete. You go around the map, die, kill some bots or bugs, die, launch a nuke, die, and try to go home. Each of the enemy factions plays like a completely different game. Bringing a shotgun for a bug mission is a good choice. You need something for crowd control, unless you want to get swarmed like it's Black Friday at Walmart. And you're the last TV on sale. Try bringing it to a bot fight though, and you'll find yourself unable to close the gap, and with multiple rockets flying straight towards your head.
The missile knows where it is at all times. It knows this because it knows where it isn't.
Okay, I hear you say. This sounds like a pretty fun game. So what happened? Right. In the beginning, almost everything was going great. Except for the servers. Those were not doing so well for the first couple of days. That's understandable though, seeing as nobody at Arrowhead expected the game to be such a massive success. The first installment's maximum amount of concurrent players on Steam was less than 7,000. That's a bit less than the 400,000 Helldivers 2 amassed in merely weeks after launch. Also, the actual armor part of armor wasn't working for quite some time after the release. You see, each set of drip has a set speed, armor, and stamina regen values. Heavier suits get more armor but less stamina and speed, lighter suits get less armor and more stamina, yada yada, you get the point. But like I said, it ain't working. So, if you take a heavy set of armor, you get none of the protection bonuses, but all of the stamina penalties. You're hauling massive hunks of steel for no other reason than to make yourself more miserable. Other than that, things were shaping up great. The developers delivered a fully fledged product for a reasonable price and teased regular free content updates with new stratagems and enemies, along with premium war bonds which would launch every month with new weapons, grenades and armor. Then, on March 6th, came the first balance patch. The railgun got nerfed, which forced all of its users to actually think and adapt their playstyle for the first time since the game dropped. As you can imagine, this did not go over too well with the Discord and Reddit crowd, and they started to politely express their dissatisfaction with the current state of events. Now, some of the devs started directly responding to the players, going as far as to say that their beloved railgun playstyle is brain dead. The rest of the month was pretty chill. We got the first mech stratagem, new flying enemy types were added to the game, and environmental hazards like meteor storms or fire tornadoes were now sweeping across the landscape. The second big balance patch came on the 29th of April. There were quite a lot of damage buffs for weaker weapons, so that was good. The worst part was that despite the statements from the community manager, the patch was still full of nerfs. A lot of weapons had their maximum magazine count decreased, and the exploding crossbow from the newest warband, Democratic Detonation, was now explosive, only in its name. The other thing this patch was supposed to fix was patrol rates. You see, they were intended to scale in a linear way, so that a solo player has 1/4 the patrols compared to a full 4-person squad. However, up until this point the scaling had been non-linear, meaning that a solo player only faced 1/6 of the patrols that a full squad would face. This patch didn't work though. Instead, it made it so that everyone, no matter how many teammates they had, faced patrol amounts intended for full teams. It took them over 2 weeks to notice that something is wrong and decide to revert the change. As of 30th of May, this fix still hasn't been deployed though. Now, time for the biggest event that inspired this video, the mandatory PlayStation Network accounts for PC players. On the 3rd of May, 3 months after the game's release, Sony decided that it was now time to require all PC players to sign into a PSN account in order to continue playing the game. The problem with this particular situation, besides the Sony account leaks, is that PlayStation Network is available only in 70 countries in the world. That means the remaining 125 cannot play the game. And let me remind you, this game was on sale for 3 months in the entire fucking world. So every person who's not a part of the 70 countries elite club would lose access to their game in less than a month. Shortly after the announcement, Sony removed the game from sale in every country where PSN is not available. The player base was quick to react. The Helldivers 2 Steam page was flooded with righteous negative reviews from angry customers. Players were returning the game and showing their anger everywhere they could. In just 3 days of boycotting, Sony backed down from their decision and announced that they will not be going forward with mandatory PSN linking. You think that would be the end of it, but as of writing this script, Sony still doesn't allow you to buy the game in countries without PSN. At least the players who already bought the game won't lose access. This is the end of major bad news, but not bad news in general. We've got more questionable balance decisions coming in fast. On the 7th of May, just a day after Sony folded, Arrowhead released a quick patch in which they removed shrapnel from the Eruptor. Objectively, the most fun weapon in the game. They buffed its direct damage to compensate, but it still left the weapon worse off than it started, and it really wasn't good enough to justify that nerf. Supposedly, the shrapnel was not working as intended, and dealt way more damage than it was supposed to. But I don't understand why removing a feature and nerfing the gun is the go-to way for fixing problems instead of, well, I don't know, actually fixing the issue so it works the way it's supposed to? Correct the damage, decrease the amount of shrapnel, but for the love of democracy and freedom, don't remove a feature that makes a gun special and unique. After that small fiasco came the 3rd premium warband, Polar Patriots. And I've got good news for you all. This time, the weapons came pre-nerfed. We didn't even have to wait for the balance patch. As you can expect, this warband didn't go over too well with the community. Armors had no new perks, and the guns weren't that good or were just straight up worse than their free counterparts. By this point, the player base is getting tired. Player numbers dropped to a currently steady 60,000. Of course, a drop in player numbers is to be expected, and controversies have little to do with that. Most people actually don't care about publisher drama or balance, they just simply have had enough of the game for now and want to play something else. Arrowhead also appears to have started listening to feedback and are constantly changing their approach to meet active players' expectations. On the 22nd of May, the CEO of Arrowhead, and excuse me if I butcher this, Johan Pillestedt, stepped down from his role to become Chief Creative Officer. He previously admitted that the current approach to balancing needs to change, and this new position allows him to be more involved in the development process. I do believe the player count drop is just temporary, and we won't have to wait long for a resurgence. A wave of veteran Helldivers and new recruits joining together to spread democracy yet again, and with even more enthusiasm. With new enemies, stratagems, weapons, features and factions, the space squids are coming. Always on the horizon, it's only a matter of time before we regularly start seeing numbers higher than 100k. This game is truly special, and its approach to live service content has the potential to shape how live games are made. Freedom shall prevail. And remember, if anything goes wrong, dive again, Helldiver.